And he says, since she's been back, she hasn't got a job. She hasn't worked. She's done nothing. And he's wanted her to leave for the last 2 months. But she hasn't. But he's tried to, ask her too nicely. And that's not really working out too well. So, I read the write-up, Judge, but the bigger thing I noticed is that my client has a knife stuck in his back. Not in his front, not in his side, but in his back. So, it's a little odd that the complaint states that she's in the bedroom and my client just out of nowhere just starts to come at her for no apparent reason, which doesn't make sense. Then it says that she, she left the bedroom and she walks into the kitchen and she contacts 911. So all this time is going by. She's walking to the kitchen, contacting 911, and then she grabs a knife, which doesn't make sense.
In the heart of today's court session, we have a rather unusual scenario unfolding. A defendant in the hospital bed, tuned into the courtroom via Zoom. But this isn't just any ordinary case. It's an intricate domestic dispute where the plot thickens with every twist. A seemingly straightforward altercation at the defendant's residence with his estranged wife took a shocking turn, leaving him hospitalized with a knife embedded in his back. Talk about a literal backstabbing scenario. Now, the judge faces a tangled web of questions. Should the defendant be pressing charges against his own wife? Or is there more to this incident than meets the eye? As the judge navigates through this intricate case, the stakes are high, and the truth needs to be unraveled. Will justice prevail? Stay tuned to witness how this courtroom drama unfolds.
If the officer at the hospital with Mr. Ivy, if you can turn your camera on, we can get him arraigned. Here we go. All right. And Mr. Ivy, if you can, what's your name for the record, please?
Reginald Ivy.
Thank you. This will be case 23-060-157, State of Michigan versus Reginald Ivy. Counsels.
And Your Honor, Philip Reagan on behalf of Reginald Ivy would waive the formal reading, stamp you at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court will enter a not guilty plea on your client's behalf as to bond.
This is charged assault with intent to do great bodily harm as well as domestic violence. The people are requesting $20,000 cash security. Also help to have no contact with the complainant. There are conflicting statements between the statement, as well as the complainant. The complaint statement is pleased is that the defendant, Lisa Hudson, they were separated in 2020, and in her witness statement, she alleged that they remarried. I assume that legally back in July. That they were at home. He attacked her unprovoked while drinking. He was drinking from her beer. He told the complainant he was going to crack her head open with a bottle. He got on top of her on the bed, and she pushed him off the boat. She then got away, went to the kitchen, grabbed the knife because she said that he had a beer bottle. They ended up in the living room on the couch. He was hitting her multiple times, choking her, and they both exchanged blows. The complainant stated she did not know how the defendant was stabbed in his back. The complainant struggled to get away. She ran out the back door and called her daughter, and 911 was then called. At some point, the complainant ran to get a gun from her spare bedroom, and that she did so, I assume it is in order to protect herself because of what was going on in the house. My understanding as well is that the knife blade was stuck in the defendant's back. It was detached from the handle and was found at the scene. Your Honor, this is extremely valuable for both parties. It is very, very tough. First, it is very, very dangerous. Apparently they lived in it, or at least the defendant lived in Mississippi at one point. There was nothing on I could see in this record as to a domestic violence complaint. stated in her statement that there was some sort of domestic violence, that it did not end up going to court down in Mississippi, and I did not see something on his record. So based on that, I did not have a criminal history for him in this state or any other state at this point. And based on the allegations in both statements with these parties, I'm asking $20,000 cash surety, alcohol cover, because it sounds like the problem began because the defendant was drinking heavily. And no contact between the parties and cover house arrest, but I'm not sure if they still live at the same home. It looks like they're both giving the same address, so I would ask for house arrest, but the defendant should be placed somewhere else if he does have a place to go.
Thank you. And Mr. Reagan.
Judge, this is one that was kind of hard for me. I was thinking, how to really approach this one because, Mr. Ivy has lived at that house. That's his house. So he and Miss Ivy have been, as Madam Prosecutor said, have been separated. Mr. Ivy tells me that the complainant used to live with her daughter, but her daughter put her out and she begged for him to please take her back into the house. She had nowhere to go. So what he did was he decided 3 months ago to let her come back to the house, against his better judgment. And he says, since she's been back, she hasn't got a job. She hasn't worked. She's done nothing. And he's wanted her to leave for the last 2 months. But she hasn't. But he's tried to, ask her too nicely. And that's not really working out too well. So, I read the write-up, Judge, but the bigger thing I noticed is that my client has a knife stuck in his back, not in his front, not in his side, but in his back. So, it's a little odd that the complaint states that she's in the bedroom and my client just out of nowhere just starts to come at her for no apparent reason, which doesn't make sense. Then it says that she left the bedroom and she walks into the kitchen and she contacts 911. So all this time is going by. She's walking to the kitchen, contacting 911, and then she grabs a knife, which doesn't make any sense either. Because if my client is so intent on getting at her with a beer bottle, it's going to be split seconds that she has when she decides to go into the kitchen. She's not going to have time to call 911. A lot of this stuff is ridiculous. So, she then gets a gun some kind of way when the police come and she has a gun and Judge, my client tells me that she just flat out stabbed. She stabbed. He wanted her to leave and he was walking, she stabbed. A lot of this stuff, Judge, I think is made up, but unfortunately it's we're here and I don't know what to do because like Madam Prosecutor says, she's at the house. She has his car. She has all of this stuff. And, obviously they can't be around each other. That's obvious. He says he's been trying to sign the divorce papers. I said, doesn't work that way. You just can't the papers, it's a time period for divorce. And if you don't do it within a certain time, the case gets dismissed and you have to do it again. So it's not just him signing the papers, Your Honor. So I don't know. I know they don't need to have contact, I don't know about, all these injuries to her and glass and strangling and didn't lose consciousness, but was strangled 2 or 3 times. And, I just know my client's in the hospital with a knife wound in his back. That's what I can tell you. That I can tell you factually. But I just don't know what to do, Judge, in terms of the living situation because there's no contact. So, he's going to have to go somewhere else. And I explained to him the eviction process. He's going to have to evict her now because she's been there. So that's just what it is. And unfortunately, that's what he has to do. But Judge, I'm asking that, he get a personal bond, Judge. And he doesn't want to have contact, but he's not trying to have contact with her. He wanted her out of his house in the first place. This is not a situation where they're together as a couple. He was allowing her to come back and stay there because her daughter had put her out of the daughter's house. He was just allowing her to stay at his house. It's not that they reconcile. They're not a couple, but I'm asking the court respectfully, Judge, to consider the personal bond and no contact.
I think, Your Honor, there's no doubt both have injuries. Obviously, you know, she had some scratches on her neck, bruises to her arms, scratches to her face. She did not seek medical attention. But I think that the court, as both Mr. Reagan and I, both officers of the court, we do not want to mislead the court. This is a very volatile situation between these parties. I mean, we have guns, knives, beer bottles. The police are called, both are injured, and protection of both parties is necessary for the interest of justice, and they can go to court and they can hash out the allegations before the court. But this is very volatile and it's beyond, so I for sure house arrest, Your Honor, and whatever has to happen, but he has to go somewhere not by us. They can't be together. And asking for a cash bond to ensure his appearance to, and obviously no contact, Your Honor. But like I said, this is extremely volatile. This is beyond the pale for, it sounds like they were arguing over separation and him not happy with her not bringing in any money. That is some of the allegations. But I'm asking this court to, I am asking for a cash bond on this because it is so volatile. I'm afraid for both parties because it is alleged that he started it. He was unhappy with her and then he raised the beer bottle and then this started the whole thing going on. So I guess I have nothing more to say, but I just want the court to be aware that both parties have injured each other severely.
Okay. Yeah, the allegations here are very assaultive. They're very concerning. The level of violence exhibited by allegedly by this defendant, and I'll tell you what's somewhat telling to me, and it certainly is not indicative of how this case will resolve at the end, but when the police arrive, the complainant has a pistol, defendant has a knife in his back, and those responding officers who were on scene, unlike myself, defense counsel, or Madam Prosecutor, decided that this gentleman should be arrested and charged. So there must be something they perceived between the two of them that would have led to that conclusion. So this is what we're going to do for bond. Sir, while this case is pending, you are not to consume alcohol at any time for any reason. To help you with that, I'm going to put you on an alcohol tether. Whenever you get out of the hospital, you are to, if you haven't posted bond, you are to turn yourself in to receive that alcohol tether. Additionally, you're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You have no contact with Ms. Ivy, have no contact with the Riverview address. And these are all conditions that you can
What about my car, Your Honor?
address. 1 second, sir. These are all issues that you can address with the next judge on the case. If you can convince that judge that she's not in the house, that she's legally moved out, then I'm sure they will lift that prohibition on you going back to Riverview. But for now, you are not to go back to Riverview for any reason. Counsel, Mr. Reagan, what's the situation with his car?
Judge, the car is at the home. She has, access to everything because she's still at the home, Your Honor. She's at the home with everything, including her firearm that she went to retrieve, like she said in the report. It was her firearm that she went to get, not his firearm. It said her firearm. So I just want to. I'm clear on that. I'm clear on that. I thought Madam Prosecutor said. I thought she said it was his. I could be wrong, Judge. I thought I heard that. It's hard hearing, in here sometimes, but that's where the car is, Judge. It's at the house, and that's, I think, what he's talking about, Judge, because he knows he can't have contact with her per order of this court, Judge. So that's the one concern, I guess, that he may have is how to get his car.
And eviction. I want to work
Oh,
on
no,
my
no, no, no,
eviction.
that's later. We'll talk about that later. That's not part of this. That's not part of this. That's not.
All right, I will indicate that he can go to the house one time with a police escort to get his car and any personal belongings he may need while
Thank
this
you.
case is pending. Court will set bond at $10,000 cash surety. That, sir, will give you a bond redetermination hearing Wednesday morning, November 29, in front of Judge McConico. Further dates will be December 5 probable cause conference and December 12 preliminary exam, both in front of Judge King. All of that here in 36th District Court. Anything else for this record?
All comments, viewpoints, interpretations, and insights expressed in this video are for education and entertainment purposes. All individuals featured in the video are to be presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Please do not attempt to contact, locate, or engage with any individuals featured in the video.